What's up, fellas? Got something special for you today. What I did is I had a one-on-one training session with Joshua where I was coaching him on how to break through his training roadblocks to building lean muscle mass and strength, and I want to share that with you. So that's going to start here in a second, and I also want you to know if you look at the description down below, I've got all the questions that he asks and that I answer so that you can quickly jump to what you need, potentially what roadblocks you might be struggling with building the body that you want. And if you find that helpful, make sure you go to the website link below to take the x-ray, which will help find exactly where you might be running into problems with your training. All right. Hey, guys. Ryan Masters, Spartan Doctor here with Mr. Joshua Anderson. And Joshua, appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh has been, he's already had some big wins in his kind of training history and some frustrations in the sense that you were just sharing with me that, A, you lost 55 pounds. So I always believe in celebrating wins and progress. So it's like, that's awesome. But B, some of the things that you shared, I think a lot of guys have gone through, which is like and it just kind of not breaks my heart, but I'm like, oh, it annoys me because like you spent a whole year at a gym, paying money with a trainer and doing things. And like you did the work and you barely got any return.
Right.
And it's like, man, anybody who goes through that process is understandably going to be like, well, this sucks. Like, I guess it's not in the cards for me because you're literally doing what you're told, what the quote unquote experts are telling you. And not to bash, whoever that was, but it's just like part of, something that I've come to realize when it comes to helping all of us transform is there's two things we're learning here. One is the quote unquote science of training, right? That's eat this amount of reps. Or not eat, but do this amount of reps, like eat these things and et cetera. And we all kind of gravitate towards that as men, but there's also the art of training. And I think that's what's missing. That's the mindset, that's the philosophy and the concepts. And those are the things that help prevent us from relying too much on the science and not really getting any results. And I found it's the marriage of the two that helps get the results the fastest, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, it does.
And so, you had done CrossFit for a while and you really enjoyed, I think, there are some great things about CrossFit in the sense of the community and, kind of that motivation aspect. There are some downsides to it that I'm not a fan of as far as, I know it depends from box to box, but a lot of times people get hurt, they're pushed too hard. My whole approach in philosophy is like, I want to be in this for the long haul, like for the rest of my life. So I'm all about, it's funny, like I consider myself very aggressive in all areas of life, except for the gym. Like if in the gym, I will be a little more of a pansy in the sense that I'm not going to overly push myself and get hurt and then be out. I'd rather just lift a little less and know that, hey, next time I'll do more,
Right.
So and also, you're 42, you've got a healthy family. You guys are on a farm, or you run a business with your wife, so you're busy.
Both. I'm a teacher, so I'm an ag teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So we run a bunch of livestock shows, both FFA and I'm a 4-H leader.
Oh, cool.
And so, yeah, we do live on a farm. We do have animals. And so amongst all that, 4 kids. And then we run a small business.
Do they count as part of the animals, or is that separate?
Sometimes they are animals. They're 16, 14, 12, and 10. And
Okay.
so 3 of those are boys, and they keep us entertained. Yeah.
And so where you're kind of at now with your training goals, or what you want to accomplish is, I know you were talking earlier, if you don't mind sharing, like about your father, like like health is a concern for you.
Right. So, probably a little over 10 years ago, my dad had a heart attack. He survived it, lived through it. But that made me open my eyes because I was heavier than my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always the heavier one in our family. Even though we would eat the same things, we would do the same things. I grew up on a ranch. We'd haul hay, we'd wake up early and milk cows. And that was just, that was a normal part of life. And, my brothers were these, ripped studs, and, we'd go to the beach and I was the guy with the shirt on. And
Right.
So, now I'm 42, and it's not that I need to look good, but I do plan on being around a long time, and I want to be that superhero for my own kids.
Mm-hmm. You got to keep those boys in line.
Well, and not just keep them in line, but, I want to be a role model to where, they've got a good example of, what should you be doing? How should it be done?
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's where I'm at in my life is, okay, I'm doing the right thing in a lot of other ways, but man, let's look at fitness. Let's look at health. Where can I improve? And that led me to looking at a lot of the videos that you've got. That's kind of helped move and shape kind of some of the stuff that I've been doing so far. And so, anyway, that's where I'm at now. And I've gone through and done several Spartan 7s that I've kind of said, okay, this week we're going to focus on water intake, which for me, that's really not a problem. I'm like a water buffalo.
Okay.
And so 1.5 gallons is no big deal for me. And I never used to measure, and then I started measuring. I went, this gallon thing is a cakewalk.
Right.
And since I'm a teacher, 1.5 gallons a day, I'm running in between classes, and good thing there's a restroom nearby. But but that's me, and I drink a lot of water. And so done that. And now I've gotten to myself to where it's okay, we're going to make sure I'm in the gym X number of days a week.
Perfect.
And so because family history says that there's some cardio, possibly some heart issues, I've told myself, man, I'm going to put extra cardio in, just to where I make sure that I'm getting 30, 45 minutes of just not bore to the wall, but I want to get some cardio in.
Okay.
And typically I do that after weights.
Okay.
That's something that I've kind of, at least what I've understood from your videos, that would be a better place to put that.
Yes. Yeah. If you're ever mixing the two in the same day, you always want to do the cardio or whatever type of training after the strength training.
Right.
Because otherwise you're tired.
Well, and I used to do the opposite, because that's what was taught. And so, now I've gotten to the point to where it's like, okay, we're gonna lift weights before we do cardio. And so, and so in those Spartan 7s, it's like, okay, taking results. And I kind of stopped watching the scale, because especially when I've been working out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna ignore the scale, because after the first week of doing that, I went, oh, that didn't budge. And then it was like, we went up 2 pounds. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to ignore the scale, and we're going to look at, are we making strength gains?
Right.
And, saw that there. So I said, okay, we're stronger. So that's a good thing. That's a plus. And so anyway, so that's kind of where I've been. And I've got lots of questions that kind of go along with some of those items as well. I don't know if you want those questions now or.
Yeah, we can go into those. I'll just kind of echo back, but It's great what you're seeing. First of all, that's the whole reason I created the Spartan 7 concept, which is something I teach more in a Spartan Rises, but I've got plenty of free videos about it. And that's the idea, was to eliminate this overwhelm of like that I went through myself. And a lot of guys, I think as men, it's like, when it's like, all right, I'm going to transform myself. It's like, let's do everything. It's like, give me the diet, give me the workout, give me all this stuff. And like, that's great for 2 days. And then like reality sets in and you're like, oh, I can't do it. And then it's just repeat, right? Like it's actually wait 3 months till you're sad, then watch a movie or something, get motivated, go again. And like, that's the process. So it's like, all right, what if we build in some flexibility to allow some weeks where I don't do well and it's okay, or I go on vacation or help me focus on just one thing. So it's awesome when I hear that you say you've kind of adapted that concept of the Spartan 7 and you're thinking, all right, for this Spartan 7, what's one thing I can do to make it better? And boom. And basically they're like bricks. So, you have 4 Spartan 7s, maybe one of them's a vacation or just doesn't go well. So you throw it away, but you still end up with 3 solid bricks. And now you're building a new lifestyle. And that's kind of it's the long-term approach that still gives us progress every week,
Right. Well, and that's one thing that it has been great. And to know that, using those 7 basic exercises that we should be doing in the gym, because I'm 40 years old. I've never been the athletic guy. And so you walk into a gym and you're like, okay, where do you start?
Right.
And so knowing that, hey, these are the only 7 things I really need to focus on. If I want to go and, do some bicep curls, great, but got to go in the gym. These are the things I'm going to work on today. And so, but that's where part of my confusion's been, because I've gone through and I don't think I've watched every video, but I've come close.
What are you?
Yeah, I'm working on. Well, I started way back on the workout corner, and yeah. Anyway, so when looking at all of the different 7, the dips, pull-ups, deadlifts, squats, leg lifts, military press, and bench press, do you do all that on one day?
No, not typically. In the Spartan Rises program, which is my coaching program that kind of packages everything for guys and feeds it to them as they drip through, like it's 3 times a week is when we lift. And it's basically those exercises are divided into 2 days.
Okay.
An alpha day and a day and a B day, and they just rotate. So one week you'll have A, B, A. The next week it'll be B, A, B. And that's the way that it goes. We do squats every day because that's something that drives the foundational growth of hormones and testosterone that feeds all the other muscles. And so those we do every day. But it's not all 7 of those exercises every time you're working out. It's more of you cut them in half. And like you said, you do 3 of them and then you can go do whatever, bicep curls, whatever you want. Because we all, have our own little areas that we want to improve on more, or just you like to do bicep curls or tricep push downs, whatever. That's fine. It's like, let's do the big boy lifts first, and then we can do that stuff.
Okay. So as far as, when I'm doing those and doing 3 sets of 6, following the whole strength ladder deal,
good.
What sort of timing in between those sets should I be looking at? How many minutes or seconds
between? Yeah,
right.
This is an area that it's like, it's something to keep an eye on, but it's not for guys. Some guys, it's it's busy gym or whatever. Like, it's not a deal breaker, but ideally 60 seconds or less between sets. It's not something that the workout's ruined if you take 2 minutes in between because you have to share or whatever. But for target, start with just 60 seconds between the sets.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay, you mentioned, doing squats and it, boosting testosterone and all that kind of stuff. What is that, a neurological thing? What is it in there that does that? I'm just curious.
It just trains your endocrine system, so the whole body, like it's stress on the whole body because you're carrying, the bar on the back of your, on your shoulders, but it taxes the whole body. So it not only, works your legs and your hips and your trunks and your glutes and like everything down there, but when you're finished with squats, like you're breathing heavy. So the whole body has been taxed, and that just like it's really like, if there are only 2, so of those 7 exercises, if you said, just give me the only 2 I could do, I would do squats and dips.
Okay.
Dips are basically the equivalent of they're like the upper body squat.
Okay. Got it. All right. I like dips. I'm not at the point where I'm quite on an unassisted dip yet, but we're working there and we're getting closer.
And that's and that's like, to your point earlier about like not worrying about the scale. That's something I teach guys in the Spartan program, is like, and this is what understandably like kills a lot of guys' motivation, is they look in the 2 worst places when they start training. Like, they look in the mirror and they look at the scale. And especially if you're newer to lifting or you've taken time off, like those are the worst things in the world to look at, because they're either going to show no progress or it's going to show almost like you're not making progress. It's like we just ignore it. But if we're getting stronger every workout or every other workout, which is what the strength ladder teaches, is how to quantifiably see progress, that's a win that we can take home to the bank and feel good and know that, I'm getting stronger. And like, just by simple logic, if I only bench 100 pounds and in 6 months I can bench 200 pounds,
right,
something has to have changed on my body for that to happen, right? Like, there's no way I can look the same and increase that strength. So that helps keep us focused. And so to your point about, hey, like, okay, you're not doing unassisted dips yet, but guess what? Like, that's a goal for you. Like, and you're making progress on your way towards it. And my guess would be, and you can confirm or deny this, is that that's a little motivating for you because you have somewhere that you're trying to get to.
Right, exactly. Well, and same thing with pull-ups, because I can do several pull-ups if I'm kipping.
Because like fish flop CrossFit.
Yeah, well, because of former training in that that arena, but now when it's like, okay, let's do this without that, and it's like, whoa, that's completely different. And you start to notice the difference. And so, but yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah.
but man, for somebody who's 42, you mentioned the testosterone deal. Not that I'm at that point, but I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of older guys that they're out there popping pills and supplements and all kind of other stuff. And if they just took the time to get in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like a whole rabbit hole, but it is true. It's like, it's basically they're putting Band-Aids on top of, they're not addressing the root cause. Right. So like, and there's obviously so many things that can affect this testosterone but health is like the core component, and like getting, and the problem is, I think, is like, it's stuff that we quote unquote already know. It's like everyone knows, oh, if I was healthier, like everything would work better. And so since we know it, we tend to ignore it, and just want the kind of quick fix. So this is, this isn't the quick fix, but it's the permanent, not needing medication, lifestyle approach.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So in several of your videos, you talk about taking time off.
Mm-hmm.
How often should that be done? Every quarter?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you'll be able to feel it out with your body as you go further and further on the journey. Generally for me, it's like every 8 weeks. After eight Spartan 7s, I'll take one or two off. And then at the end of the year, I'll take 2 weeks off. And I mean, now, to be honest, since I've been training for so long, like I'll take longer time off. And, it's nice. It's kind of like building a business in the sense, when it comes to your body, like all the work you do a lot of work up front, like a lot of work.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people quit, because it's a lot of work. It sucks. It's no fun. But once you like cross that threshold, then you've got systems in place and a lot of automation and muscle memory. So like, it's not that, doesn't mean I can just go drink every night and eat McDonald's, but like, I can definitely be a lot more lax on my training and my food intake and maintain my physique and my strength and health, assuming I'm not like trying to aggressively grow, which I'm not, because I'm happy with where I'm at. It's, I mean, there's always little things to improve, but I'm not interested in being a bodybuilder or whatever. It's just maintaining that base level of strength. So to that end, like I take a little more time off now, like especially with travel and things like that.
Okay. Awesome.
But there is, another sign for you is like, if you're stalling on the strength ladder, like if you keep missing and not being able to climb consistently once or twice, that'll happen with sleep and just random patterns, whatever. But if it's like weeks or two and things aren't able to go up and your food intake is correct and your recovery is correct, that can be a sign that you just need to take a break. Because sometimes you're not going to feel like your CNS, your central nervous system, can be overtaxed by too much training. Now it takes a lot more. Like the internet makes it sound like that's so easy to do. It's not, but it is possible. And so sometimes that's why we build in those breaks, because you may not feel like you need it until you've actually taken it, and then you're mentally recharged and your body's good to go. So it is an important part to keep in mind. And I get massages and stuff too. That's down the road, something important to add in.
Yeah, I saw that on the video I was watching today. I was like, massage. I was like, well, that's not something that I put in my normal routine, but maybe down the road we'll look at that. But okay, so you mentioned food intake, and that's probably an area where I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world that struggles with. And it's not necessarily, hey, making good choices, because I can make good choices. I can walk down to the fridge and get carrot, celery, bell pepper. I can cook some, chicken tenders. But it goes into quantity and timing. And being a teacher, I will say it is tough. I've meal prepped. I haven't meal prepped recently for weeks or for a week at a time, but man, especially with 6 people in our house, we meal prep every night and it gets eaten every night. And so, for me,
boys, I bet.
Yeah. And I mean, anyway, so I mean, and they get to the point where they're like, chicken again? And I'm like, yeah, we're having chicken again. They're like, Dad, really? So, we're at that stage. And so, but more for me, I don't mind eating chicken all the time, but I prefer fish. But timing on a lot of that stuff, is it, if I'm at 10 o'clock at night because we just got in from working animals, is it better to have a couple scoops of protein and go to bed, or should I eat a meal? And so those are things that it's like, man, am I doing that part wrong? Because I do make good choices for the most part. I don't hold myself on a really strict diet. I've used MyFitnessPal and tracked what I ate, and I get pretty close on the amount of protein I'm supposed to have a day.
How much what do you think that is?
Right at about 180 grams of protein. I'm weighing 180 right now.
Okay.
And so I try to stay around there. Some days I'll get to the end and I'll look at what I've eaten and I'm like, ooh, I'm only like 100 because I'll get swamped that day. And then it's like, okay, should I really go and cram in 80 more grams? I mean,
right.
In reality, your body's not going to be able to absorb all of that anyway, right?
Yeah, a certain amount. Yeah, if like, oh, I need 100 grams, like, okay.
Yeah.
Right then, right?
So, I mean, we're a big egg eating family. We buy it by the case of 60.
There we go.
And so with me, because there's heart issues in the family, I say, okay, we're going to do 5 eggs and 1 egg yolk, so 5 egg whites and a yolk.
Okay.
And so, and I give the yolks to the boys. And so they don't mind.
Yeah.
But so I'm making good choices for the most part, but timing and maybe I haven't seen that in the videos yet because I haven't gotten to that part. But that's an area that I know that I struggle in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an area, I mean, it's the hardest battle to fight. That's what I tell the guys that I coach through the Spartan Rises program. And you're going to get access to that. So, for doing this, because I appreciate you coming on. So that will go into more nitty gritty, but I do want to answer some of these questions. So in Spartan Rises, there's the Nectar of Hercules, because I like to make all these fun names, but that's the food portion of the program. Okay. And what's important, I've learned through my own journey and through coaching others, is not it's teaching you how to fish, not saying, hey, eat these fish, because what you want to eat and your body factors as far as how your body responds to fat and carbs and, whether you want to do keto or veganism or whatever, like it's different for each person. So if I teach the principles, however, are the same, whether someone's vegan or keto or this or that, the principle is track what you eat, eat more real food than processed, and measure your results, and then repeat each Spartan 7 each week. Okay. So just to kind of immediately answer the question you were asking, like the timing is not as important as the consistency. Okay. So in the Nectar of Hercules, you'll be able to put in, how much you weigh, target weight, what you're looking to do, whether it's build, lose fat, or a combination, and that will give you the calorie starting point. And let me hit pause on this real quick and say, when you say like, oh, I'm making good choices, that's just for anyone listening, like that's a relative term, right? Because what you think is a good choice may not be a good choice. Just like back when you were eating correctly or whatever with that trainer, like nothing was happening because you weren't eating enough protein, but you didn't know what you didn't know, right? So like you were like, and that's what's frustrating for me. It's because you were using the willpower and you had the discipline and you were taking the actions. They just didn't stack up to where you thought you were supposed to go, right? And so what I teach in Spartan Rises is like how to use each week as your own science lab to see how your body responds to food and make little changes each week that are manageable, that show you progress, or show that it doesn't give you progress, so therefore we need to remove it. And you get to keep building off of that while you're creating basically a Joshua Anderson database of how he responds to food.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So yeah, the eggs are like my favorite. I know some people don't eat them, whatever, they're lost, but it's like natural steroids. It's like the best protein for you. I eat raw eggs like all the time because I'm too lazy to clean anything, so I just drink them. But the fact that you're eating those and the egg whites is great. And yeah, so like when you do come in late at night, if you haven't worked out for the day, then it's like, all right, just have a protein shake or just get 50 grams of protein in that scenario. If you did do a workout earlier in the day, depending on where you are with your macros, like you could eat the whole meal and your goals. But that's probably too tactical. Like the food intake plan will cover that.
Okay.
But basically the process is this. We start. So when I say Spartan 7, I know I kind of use it twice, but in this case, I'm using it in the term of a week, right? So Monday to Sunday is a Spartan 7. So we view just in that lens. And when we start Monday morning, weigh yourself immediately after you've woken up and gone to the bathroom, because it will be consistent. So that's when we always weigh ourselves. And then with the food program, that will tell you how much to eat for the week. So let's say your calorie goal is 2,500 and it breaks it down into fats and carbs. So for that Spartan 7, you try to hit that number, hit those macros every day. Everything else is going about the same. You're doing your training, farm life and teaching and everything. So, and then the next Monday morning, you weigh yourself and see what happened. There's not going to be a huge movement, but there will be potentially a quarter pound up or a quarter pound down. Again, depending on the goal, like if you're trying to lose weight or trying to gain, like that's what we're looking at. And so what you've seen then is, okay, for this week, I ate this amount of calories per day, this breakdown, and this is what happened on the scale.
Okay.
And after like a month of doing that, so it's four Spartan 7s, it is work, but it's not that much work. You will know, okay, when I eat X number of calories in this proportion, my body weight and muscle mass goes up, or I lose fat, depending on where you're targeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Right. Yeah. Okay.
So it allows you to create your own process in lab, because there's no, like, that's the best. Like I could tell you, and in the Spartan program I'm like, here's the ballpark where you need to start. This is going to get you as close as possible to moving the scale. However, there's 20% left that nobody can do for you or anybody except for themselves, which is tracking the calories, measuring Monday, keeping everything else consistent, and seeing the results the next week, or lack of results, and then making an adjustment for the week going forward and tweaking and doing that consistently, 4 times in a row. That will tell you much more about how your body responds to food than anybody can, because that's you using yourself as a science lab.
Okay.
So that's kind of the high level strategy. Now some things that I found, first of all, a lot of guys, especially when they're starting out or they haven't been back to the gym, it's like, I don't even start them on nutrition stuff, because that is like, it's a tough battle. So it's like, let's start with the gym. Let's get that consistent. Like, let's get some wins, right? I'm all about wins. So it's like, why don't we go to the gym for like a month, 3 times a week, consistently climb the strength ladder? Because so when we do that and we don't worry about nutrition, we've done 2 things. Number one, we've concentrated your focus. So now you're not diluted on 2 things, like half nutrition, half training. No, you're focused on just training. You're seeing progress, which means you're going to be more motivated. And because you're more motivated and seeing progress, now you're like, oh man, I want more of this. So now you have kind of more willpower to take on the next battle, which is nutrition, which requires a little more discipline. It is a tougher battle, but you're kind of ready for it, because you're like busting your butt in the gym, and you're ready, and you're making gains, but you're ready to maximize your gains by dialing in your food intake.
Got it. Okay. Well, and I will say that is one thing that's kept me motivated in the gym, is keeping that log. And that's something that I didn't do before.
Yeah. Like most people don't do it. And it's like, that's why I renamed it and called it the Spartan Strength Ladder, and like explain, and also I explained, like, because there's different ways to do it, but hopefully you found when I explained how to climb, like how important that is. And it goes more in depth than what you've seen in the program.
Okay.
But it's not like, that's why I'm not pretending to like teach anything like miracle here, but it is such a common thing that makes such a big difference. It's the number one thing I hear from guys who complete programs. Like, man, following that training log has like changed my life. And it's so true. And it's like, we've heard it before, but we never did it.
Right. Now, is that an online log that you encourage them to use? Because I've been old school, and I've been using a little tablet and notebook.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I'm all about whatever works for you, right? So I used to have the 3x5 like little notebooks, and I would just
Right.
keep it in there. I did that for like 3 years, but now I am all about automation. So I have an iPhone. I use an iPhone app called Strong. It's like $5, but it's amazing, and I love it. It's very intuitive, and more importantly, like I can see very easily what I lifted last week. I can see kind of what my current max is, so I can kind of game against myself to, like, if I have a max goal that I'm trying to reach without ever actually having to max, I can just see, okay, I can do 6 of 225. That equals this for 1 rep. So that's what I recommend if they're doing digital, but I have no qualms against analog either.
Got it. Okay, so in one of your videos, you mentioned for fat loss, and I do have some fat that I need to lose.
Mm-hmm.
You encourage using HIIT training.
Yes.
There's certain specific exercises, or
yeah, it's not so much about the exercise with HIIT. It's more about the intensity. Again, I like to leave it a little flexible so that you can go with what gets you excited. Personally, I just do it on the treadmill, and it's 20 minutes. So I do right now, because I've been slacking a little, I do 2 minutes at like 5.5. That's kind of my coasting, my low speed, and then I do a minute at 8.5, 9.0. And so I just alternate back and forth, or after every 2 minutes, I do a minute of 9.0, then back to 2 minutes of jogging, then a minute of 9.0, all the way up to 20 minutes. And once it gets to the point where, so this is, again, kind of a strength ladder concept. Once it gets to the point where I can finish that 20 minutes and I've still got some good breath, okay, now I either increase my jog speed to 6.0, or I increase my sprint speed to 9.5 or 10.0. And so I continually stacking the stress, if you will.
Okay, got it. Can the same thing be done on like an elliptical machine? Is it more about the heart rate, or?
Yeah, I mean, you could do it on the elliptical machine. I don't think that's as effective. Like if I wasn't sprinting or doing it on the treadmill, I would say try the rowing machine. You
Okay.
can have one of those.
Okay. Yep.
Because those are pretty intense.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, so I would do like treadmill, row, and elliptical, because again, it's
Okay.
all about, there's an ideal and then there's getting it done. So
Okay.
if, because a lot of people have knee injuries or whatever injuries, or they hate the treadmill, that's fine. Then just do the elliptical, or the rowing machine, or jump rope.
Got it.
I can't really jump rope. I'm not coordinated enough, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm okay jump roping, just not double unders. So
Yeah.
that was always an epic fail.
What do you mean, 3 years of CrossFit and you can't do a double under yet?
Yeah, not for a long period of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so all right, that answered a lot of questions that I had.
Good.
Man, trying to think. Oh, okay. So you said massage. I'm gonna go back to that.
Sure.
Chiropractor just as good as massage?
I do both, actually.
Okay.
Chiropractors, especially with squats, especially if you're doing heavy squats or heavier deadlifts or things, it's just good to get that alignment. Like, I'm all about being proactive about health. Now, in appropriate doses, right? If someone's not been going to the gym and they're like, oh, I need to do a chiropractor massage right away. No, you don't.
Right.
Like, let's go to the gym first and get that, 3 times a week for 4 weeks. That's your mission. But as you continually train, and this is a lifestyle, like by training and increasing the strength ladder, we are putting stress on our bodies. And most guys, we just don't get enough sleep. And massages and chiro help kind of reset things and get you focused and can prevent longer term injuries. And like, I feel when I haven't gotten a massage, just like maybe if you remember the adjustment of when you didn't drink a lot of water to drinking 1.5 gallons or 1 gallon a day for a week, and you notice you think better, you have more energy, your baseline has changed. That is the same kind of feeling when I'm consistently getting a massage, once a month. Like, now I feel like, ooh, I am tight and stiff, and like I have knots and things and blood flow. So, I mean, if you're only doing one, I'd probably start with the massage, unless you have an injury that you want the chiro to look at.
Yeah, and I don't, but my wife sees one and she's always like, man, you should go. And I'm like, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned recovery, and that made me go back to the whole sleeping thing. You know, if it's going to be a day where you choose to go to the gym and spend 45 minutes to an hour at the gym, or make sure that you're going to get 8 hours of sleep, do you make that sacrifice, or because it's one night, no big deal?
Yeah, I would probably always in most cases, like pick the gym and then just get a little less sleep, unless it's been a while. Like if it's been a week of not a lot of sleep and I'm feeling the stress and like, again, this is kind of you kind of listen to your body and figure yourself out. Then I would make that call, but I probably start with, doing the gym first.
Got it. As I age, and I mean, I'm 42, and I don't feel old at all.
Right.
Are there certain supplements, creatine, or anything that, as I start lifting heavier, that I should be taking?
Yeah, I would look at, fish oil and glucosamine,
Okay.
those ones for your joints. And creatine is fine. That's like probably the most studied supplement. It has nothing to do with age. It's just going to help you lift a little bit more and be stronger. And then I take a lot of, supplemental protein, whey protein, casein protein before I go to bed. These are all kind of finer tune elements, right? Again, some people will be like, oh my God, I need casein protein. And it's like, well, wait, have you gone to the gym for 4 weeks in a row? No, but I need casein protein. It's like, well, hold on a second. Actually, you need to go to the gym first. So, but yeah, that's kind of an area. I talk a little bit about supplements in the program, but because they are supplemental, they're not necessarily needed, but they can help advance when you're doing the right things.
Right.
And a multivitamin, definitely need a multivitamin just because of the stress and stuff that we're putting on our bodies for sure. Okay.
Well, about the only one in there that I'm not doing regularly is the creatine. Everything else I pretty much already take. But, okay. Anyway, all right.
Cool.
Well, man, let me tell you, thank you for your time, because I know it's valuable. All of our time is, and so.
No, I appreciate you being on, and a couple things that bubbled up for me with the questions you're asking, especially with nutrition. This is something you'll learn as you go through the program that I'm going to send you through. One of the concepts that I teach is the Spartan Hot Gates. Have you seen the 300 movie? Are you familiar with the?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so the 300s, the Spartan guys, okay, whether it's some people like, nah, it's not entirely historically accurate. Okay, who cares? Like, we're talking about, like, we're using an analogy here. So those guys were like badass warriors. However, despite how badass they were, they could not take on the whole infinite, Persian army as it stood. Like, there was just not enough badass. It just wasn't realistic. Right. However, once they combined their badassness with the environment, and creating those hot gates, let me see here. So, there's the hot gates, and so the Spartans were here, and you had all the Persians out here, and now all of a sudden they can't swarm them. They have to just come and fight in here. They leverage their environment to maximize their strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do for ourselves, because, okay, you're badass, I'm badass, we're all badasses, but there is it runs out, and there's only so many things you can take on. So it's like, well, let's leverage our environment that we're in to maximize it. So for an example of that, with water, in your case, you've got it down, but a lot of guys are like, oh, I can't drink a gallon of water a day. That's a lot. And that's the wrong question to think. It's like, the question is not, how do I drink a gallon of water a day? The question is, how do I change my environment to make drinking water very easy? So if you have a 9-to-5 office job, like, maybe you buy a case of water and you keep it at the foot of your desk. So now it's very easy to bend down and get up and drink water. Or maybe you have like a little protein shaker that you go to the water cooler, and every hour you fill it. Like, you create your own hot gate. That's up for each individual to decide. But it just changes how you think. And it's really important for nutrition. So like, for you kind of are using the hot gate of like the meal prep, right? That helps make it easier, because like a tough battle for you is when you're at school teaching. It's not as easy to get the nutrition in that you need. A hot gate that two new hot gates that I set up that I've been loving. Number one is like the little NutriBullet Ninja or whatever.
Right.
Like I buy, what I do is I buy, this isn't the Ninja cup, but instead of having one Ninja cup, I have like 10 of them. And I just throw in, it's like I call them my swole shakes. And so I'll throw in eggs and I'll throw in protein and oats and kale and whatever. And it's fun and it's easy and boop, I drink it and I'm done. And I just got an air fryer. I really like that. It's easy, low maintenance for me. But that's, those are hot gates for me. They won't necessarily work for you. But what will work for you is just thinking, instead of thinking like, how do I eat better and how do I do this and that? It's like, how can I change my environment to make it easier for me to do these difficult things? Does that make sense?
Right. No, that does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you spend time doing that and you install those, now you're using less willpower. If we go back to the water example, the guy's using less willpower to drink water, and now he has more willpower to invest somewhere else. Because we do have a finite amount of willpower every day. They've studied this every way from Sunday. Like by the end of the day, you run out. So it's like we need to treat it like I always think of like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, those energy bars. Like it will go out by the end of the day. So like we need to know, plan accordingly.
Got it. All right. Well, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And